Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor for Madison365, and this is your daily update for Friday, April 2nd. Hope you're enjoying your Friday. It is a beautiful one outside. Hope you're able to get out this weekend. The coronavirus news today is frankly not very good, at least on the spread number metrics. Okay, we've got two big things that are kind of unrelated that are causing us concern today. The first is that we are reporting today 875 new cases, which is the most we've had at least since early February that I can find. Now, that's we're reporting only 4,100, just under 4,200 tests. So that means about 21% of all the new tests that we're reporting are negative, or positive, rather. Now, again, that's not all the tests. Those are just all the new results. In other words, all the people who are testing negative for the first time or testing positive for the first time. Anybody who's been repeatedly testing negative is not reported in that number. It's reported in a different number. Okay. So, but when Stephanie saw this number that was so anomalous, the 875 is more than 340 more than yesterday. She went back and started to look a little bit more closely at the data and found out that at least 100 of these tests that are these positive cases that are being reported today were actually identified a couple of weeks ago, or their samples were tested 2 and 3 weeks ago. And for whatever reason, they're just now getting added into the data, which is a little bit frustrating. But it also makes our count today a little bit artificially high. That said, even if about 100 of those are older, that's still 775 new cases today. We haven't seen that many cases in a long, long time. And that's not good. Now, the other number that is somewhat related is the 7-day positive test rate is now 3.0. Remember, we wanted to get below 3.0. 3.0 is where you start to think that you've kind of lost control of the virus a little bit. We spent a couple of months trying to get it down below 3.0. We got it all the way down to 2.0, and now we've come all the way back up to 3. So that doesn't make me happy either. Now, some of those 100 or so results that are 2 or 3 weeks old would not be figured into that 3.0 number, right? Because those are a while ago. And 100 tests, frankly, or 100 cases is not going to throw that number off by too much. But we're still seeing with that 775 today, 875 total today. Our 7-day average of reported cases jumps all the way from 471 up to 531. So that's a big jump. And our active cases, which meaning those cases that have been diagnosed in the past 30 days, is now over 7,100. It was 6,800 yesterday. So again, that's another number we don't like to see going up. Currently active cases should be dwindling towards 0 at this point, right? But it's not. It's actually going up. So that's also not great. So the one piece of news that isn't quite as terrible, we report 8 fatalities today, which is obviously terrible for 8 families. But the 7-day death average remains at 5. Now here's the caveat for that, though. Hospitalizations will increase about 2 to 3 weeks after cases increase, and deaths will increase 3 to 4 weeks after the cases increase. So hospitalizations are up slightly today, only slightly, 244 people hospitalized. That's only 5 more than yesterday. That's only 18 more than a week ago. However, there shouldn't be any more of that. That should also be going down. The fact that it's going up even slightly is a concern. And we might see increase in deaths a month from now. Okay? We don't like that at all. So that's all pretty bad news. Now, the flip side is the good news that the vaccination effort is far outpacing the new cases, even as new cases are up somewhat. Okay. We are reporting today almost 88,000 shots given in the past 24 hours. Again, we're still not super clear how this data is being reported. Are we sure that these are all cases that are all doses that were given in the past 24 hours? No, we're not sure of that. But this is what's reported today. We have 88,000 more shots given today than we did yesterday that we know of. So, that's all we have to go on. It's not clear yet how long it takes those numbers to get into the data, right? It took us several months to figure that out in terms of cases and tests and all that, when we have it figured out now. But in vaccinations, we're not quite there yet, which is fine. It's fine. As long as we know every day that, take it with that grain of salt. We still are at, we're just below 3 million doses given total. And of those today, just under 45,000 were people finishing their vaccine, and about 49,000 were getting their first shot. And a relatively small number, about 5,000 of those first shots were also the final shot, in the fact that they were Johnson & Johnson single-dose vaccines. What that puts us at now is 19.3% of our population has been vaccinated. Now, that's 1.1 million people. Now, given the other numbers we talked about, the bad news numbers that we talked about, it might be valuable to think about it this way. 1.1 million people completely vaccinated means 4.7 million people are not vaccinated. Let's think about this in terms of the good news that we are getting a lot of people vaccinated. But that doesn't mean the fact that we are getting them vaccinated doesn't mean they are vaccinated. Doesn't mean we're done with this thing. Okay. There are still 4.7 million people in Wisconsin who are not vaccinated. So the thing is going to continue to spread. Now we have all these variants also. I told you yesterday. We have, of this new batch of positive cases that were tested for variants, about 10% were the UK variant, B117. Which means that of today's 800-something cases, it's roughly about 80 more of that variant probably. That variant is going to have a larger reproduction number than the regular old coronavirus that's been ravaging Wisconsin. So that's not good either, which means we just have to really keep pushing the vaccine and get this done as quickly as we can. Again, we have to get to about 80%. I would imagine, and we'll see if this bears out, but just based on my rudimentary understanding of the science, that once we get approached 50% or so vaccinated, we should start to see these numbers that are rising. I would hope by the time we're halfway down vaccinating, we should start to see those level off and come back down. We're not going to eradicate this thing until we get at least 80% of the people vaccinated. And the other thing we don't know yet, really, is this a permanent vaccination, or is this a once-a-year thing like a flu shot? I don't think that's really established yet, but we'll have to see. So again, mixed bag. Good news on vaccinations. A lot of vaccinations reported today. It seems as though vaccinations are accelerating. Also, as a reminder, if you're age 16 or older, you're eligible on Monday. Make your appointments, get your shots. Let's get this done. In the meantime, we're pushing the vaccine so hard because in the meantime, the virus is spreading badly all across Wisconsin. We have a couple pieces of vaccine or of a coronavirus related news for you. Related to these numbers. First of all, the CDC today said that fully vaccinated people are safe to travel. That's slightly different. Travel has been a dangerous consideration. Has been a thing we don't want to do too much. But now they're saying fully vaccinated people, for fully vaccinated people, travel is safe. That's the recommendation from the CDC. Now, locally, Joe Parisi, the county executive, along with Mayor Sacha Rose Conway in Madison, and Janelle Heinrich of the PHMDC, Public Health Madison-Dane County, announced today emergency order number 15, which is further loosening restrictions in Dane County. Now, I'll mention, it sounds, given all the information I just gave you, it might sound kind of crazy to loosen restrictions in Dane County, but I will tell you that the numbers I've been giving you are statewide numbers. Across the state, this thing is spreading. In Dane County, they've pretty much still got it under control. And part of that is because EW is testing a lot and doing a pretty good job of isolating the virus spread on campus. Excuse me. So in Dane County, the positive test rate is like 0.7. Okay, really low. One of the lowest places in the country, frankly. Soon, EW will be doing less testing because more of their students are getting vaccinated. And according to the rules on campus, once you get vaccinated, you don't have to get tested as much anymore. So that positive test rate might inch up slightly. I don't think it's going to jump to 3 based on that. So given all that, Dane County is comfortable loosening restrictions. So what that means is outdoor events no longer require masks and no longer have a limit of capacity, with one big caveat. Okay, this is important. It's not you can have any size event. The size of event you have depends on the size of your venue, and there's no prescription of a number, but it does say you have to limit the capacity of your event such that everyone who's there can maintain 6 feet of distance from people who aren't in their household. Okay, does that make sense? So, like, for example, of course, everybody on my Twitter feed is asking, so for Madison, can we have games now? Can we have a big crowd at Bree Stevens Field? And the answer is, it seems to me yes, but that stadium, Bree Stevens Field on East Washington Avenue, seats about 5,000 people if everybody is shoulder to shoulder. So they can't have 5,000 people there. They could probably have 2,500 because take out like half of the available seats, and then you could put 6 feet of distance between each household. So 5x4 tickets, I'm in 4 seats here, and then there's like 3 or 4 empty seats before the next family, right? So the capacity of an event outdoors at this moment under this health order kind of depends on whoever's hosting the event figuring out how can we do this? How many people can we have here if all the families are spread out by 6 feet? Which in some places could be pretty big events. Masks are still recommended, and social distancing is still recommended. I don't know how, and they're going to enforce it on a complaint basis. So they're not going to be patrolling outdoor events. Now, indoor events are not changed at all. You still have to wear a mask indoors. If your event has food as part of it, 150 people is the limit. If it doesn't, 350 people is the limit. Okay. Excuse me. So that it's a pretty big change for outdoor events because, let's be frank, outdoor events, for the most part, have not contributed to the spread of the virus very much. Right? There's a relatively small number of cases, but there's no evidence that gatherings outdoors are any more contagious than any other just regular life, basically. So outdoor events are relatively safe, and there are very few restrictions on outdoor events in Dane County anymore. So that's the news on coronavirus. I have some other local news for you. If you stay with us, I'm going to take a short pause, and I'm going to get a drink of water so I stop coughing in your ear, and we'll be back right after this. And we're back. This is the team at KLJ Movement. This is a new dance company that's just been formed in Madison. And I'm going to, sorry, I just realized I don't remember. I don't want to say the names correctly. Kyra, KLJ Movement is founded by Kyra Johnson. And I thought that's what it was, but I didn't want to say because I didn't want to say her name wrong. Kyra Johnson is right here. These from left to right, this is Marissa Powell, Kyra Johnson, Jimena Linares, and Bertie Brzezinski, who were dance students. Kyra just graduated from UW Stevens Point with a degree in dance, and said, Malik Anderson did this story, and she told Malik that just growing up as a dance student, she was just very often the only black kid in the class. So she's intentionally created this dance company for black and brown kids and adults for that matter. So far they've been hosting some pop-up classes on Zoom. They've been doing some Sunday classes at Goodman Community Center. And they've been planning and are ready to soon announce a performance schedule. And they just announced, this is kind of funny, Malik talked to them, a week or so ago and got the story written and turned in last night. So I had, tacked it up and queued up for this morning. And then like at midnight last night, they announced that they have a new place. They have found a home. They have found their own studio, thanks to some donors helping them out. So they actually, so I had to add that to the story real quick this morning. But they have a studio space now in Monona, right next to Madison, just to the east. So that's fun and exciting for them. So to check that story out, it's at Madison365.org. Just search for KLJ Movement. Dane County, there is literally, not very often you get to say this, there's a new sheriff in town. Literally a new sheriff in town. This is Calvin Barrett. I don't know why I keep wanting to put an N in there. Calvin Barrett. He was a Sun Prairie police officer. He was a Dane County Sheriff's deputy. He is currently a Wisconsin State Fair Park police officer and an instructor at Madison College in the criminology program at Madison College. And he has been appointed to finish the term of Sheriff David Mahoney. He's been appointed by Governor Evers. Let's not ignore the fact that this is Dane County's first black sheriff. He will fill out the term, which runs through the spring of 2023. So he'll be about 2 years in the job before he has to, if he wants to run for election, he can in 2 years. It's an elected position. And obviously sheriffs are elected positions. So that was just announced today. We're going to try to get him on the show at some point in the near future. So I introduce you to him. He'll start in the new job in May 8th of 2021. A lot going on in the sheriff's office. We've reported on a lot of stuff related to the jail. So I will have some tough questions for him on those issues. Also today, a little bit of a row, conflict, whatever you want to say, in the District 8 race, which has been a very cordial race. It's been really interesting to see Max Prestigiacomo step down and decide not to run again. He didn't really step down. He just decided not to run again for District 8 on the Madison Common Council. And several people jumped in, and the two people who came through the primary are Juliana Bennett on the left and Ayomi Obusa on the right. There was a candidate forum on Tuesday, and in that candidate forum, Juliana Bennett talked about her experience as a survivor of sexual assault. Shortly after that ended, Ayomi Obusa posted on Facebook that how much she dislikes it when people claim to be survivors of sexual assault when they really aren't. So Juliana and many other people assumed that Ayomi was talking about Juliana and basically implying that Juliana was lying about her experience with sexual assault. She has since deleted that post, and she has since said that she was talking about someone else. So Ayomi, our Ayomi Wolf, spoke with Juliana, went off of Ayomi Obusa's statements. Ayomi Obusa did not return any calls looking for comment, but it's caused a bit of strife just in these last few days before the election. In that local election that was coming up on Tuesday, April 6th. So that story again is Madison365.org. And in national news, Major League Baseball got a start yesterday. The Milwaukee Brewers had a huge come-from-behind win, a walk-off win in the bottom of the 10th inning, which is wonderfully exciting if you're a Brewers fan. But they're already thinking about the All-Star game. The All-Star game and the 2021 MLB draft were both scheduled to take place in Atlanta, or rather near Atlanta, where SunTrust Truist Field is in Cobb County. But Major League Baseball announced today that since Georgia does not want people to vote, then they must not want the All-Star game either. And they have pulled the All-Star game and the draft out of Georgia in response to the restrictive election laws that have just been signed into law. Those are the things about like restricting early voting, restricting Sunday voting, restricting the ability to give people water when they're standing in line to vote. All those things have led Major League Baseball to pull the All-Star game out of Atlanta. Now you remember there was a back in 2016, there were in North Carolina, they're trying to pass laws that were basically meant to prohibit or oppress transgender people, and the NBA pulled the All-Star game out of Charlotte, and several other entities did similar things and actually got those laws changed. So we'll see if this has any effect on Georgia. But when laws like that start costing you money, that's when they often suddenly change. All right, that is the news for today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I hope you get out and enjoy it. It's supposed to be very, very nice. And we will be back Monday with more news and more. I hope to have better coronavirus news for you. But again, don't forget, starting Monday, you are eligible for a vaccine. So do what you can to get a shot, and then take care of yourself and take care of all those around you. All right, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you soon.
This is 365 Media.